Well, it's a few days before Christmas, and we're doing this again, aren't we? I swore to myself I would not make another J.K. Rowling video, at least this year, but something happened. I don't know if you heard about it in the news or like whatever. It's not like something people are really talking about. It's just been like super small, but I'm your host, not for possession, Narcissa Deville, and welcome to hell. I'd like to say that this is the absolute last video I'm going to make on this subject because, like, I can totally quit talking about J.K. Rowling whenever I want. Like, it's not like I'm obsessed or anything. I just really love Harry Potter.
Narcissa Deville had never been less interested in Harry Potter. She was quickly becoming obsessed with J.K. Rowling.
Who said that? J.K. Rowling once famously said that she knows what she believes because of what she's written, and I used to think that meant what she's written in her books. But lately, I'm starting to think she believes what's written in her tweets. And that's kind of a problem. If you told me in 2007 we'd be living in a world in just over a decade in which Voldemort became president and my favorite author would basically become Umbridge, I wouldn't have believed you. But then 2007 was a simpler time, wasn't it? It was the start of Twitter, and at that point, Joanne Kathleen Rowling hadn't even considered getting a Twitter. The good old days. Alright, so we all know why I'm here, because I'm a fat trans bitch who can't keep her mouth shut about someone with way more power than me currently. Or at least, that seems to be the general consensus of some of the comments that I'm getting. Here's the facts, people. J.K. Rowling is a transphobe. I resisted giving her this moniker for a long time, but I think we're at the point now where we're so past the point of any plausible doubt. But since it's been suggested to me that I should somehow still give her the benefit of the doubt that her intent was not to harm, I think we'll try and dispel that. So first off, politically speaking, if you go strictly by her tweets, J.K. Rowling does seem to lean more liberal. And technically speaking, she has said on her Twitter that she does believe that there are queer students at Hogwarts and that Harry Potter is proof that nobody deserves to live in a closet. Now, that's great. She also, as we all know, at the tail end of 2007 outed Albus Dumbledore, which I think kind of everyone agrees was the beginning of the end and where things really started to go off the rails. But that's an entirely different video because as far as I'm concerned, Dumbledore is kind of a gyno. G-I-N-O. Gay in name only. Yeah, sure, she outed him to everyone because she was kind of asked what his relationship status was. But honestly, we haven't really seen any proof of this. Like, she outed him at the end of the book series after it was all done, after there was no more coming out from the book series. And now she has this entirely other series of Fantastic Beasts where we have the opportunity to see gay Dumbledore, at least somewhat implied. And we're already 2 videos in and we haven't seen anything yet. And I think it's safe to say there's probably not going to be anything because that's not the story. And that would be fine. Like, I'm not even asking for, like, explicitness of, like, either of them making out or, like, fucking, even though that is in every other movie everywhere. So it's not like it would be that unusual to see characters fucking for no reason. But even in Good Omens, you know, I made the video, The Quiet Queerness of Good Omens. I talked about how one of the things I appreciated about the show was that even if it was never explicitly stated that these two characters were in love, it was always very much implied. The music implied it, the actions of the characters implied it, the way they looked at each other. Everything in there was an implication that there was something more there. But from all the things I've heard about the Crimes of Grindelwald, there's not really much to go on there. And that's okay. As for other works by J.K. Rowling, I've heard that there's a trans woman somewhere lurking in one of her Robert Galbraith novels, but let's be honest, I don't know anyone who's reading those. I don't know anyone who's really talking about those. As far as I'm concerned, one trans person does not representation make. Like, okay, yeah, you've included one. I don't know what her character arc is. Did she die? Did she kill someone? Like, it's not really clear what the character arc is for this alleged trans person.
While doing some research for this video, I came across an article from Vice about J.K. Rowling's transphobia actually being written pretty explicitly in one of her Robert Galbraith books entitled The Silkworm. I'll include the Vice article in the link below, but I just wanted to read a little scene that apparently was written by a Vice contributor, Caitlin Burns, in which she describes the scene in which the trans woman Pippa follows and tries to stab the protagonist Cormoran Strike before getting trapped in Strike's office. After demanding Pippa's ID, her trans status is revealed and her visible Adam's apple is noted. While it is noted her hands are jammed into her pockets, Pippa tries several times to escape the office before Strike finally says, "If you go for that door one more time, I'm calling the police and I will testify and be glad to watch you go down for attempted murder. And it won't be fun for you, Pippa," he added, not pre-op. So that's just like an idea of how she actually feels just according to her own writing, and that's not even Twitter. We won't pretend as though there aren't characters who have, kind of a bad voice. They're not really great characters. Cormoran Strike as a character seems kind of a shitty human anyway, and from what I've seen from this Vice article, there's clearly proof that as far as his descriptions of people, they're not great. So he's maybe not a narrator who I would say is a great person, regardless of whether or not you're meant to sympathize with him. And I would also agree that that doesn't necessarily mean just because you've written that in a book or that you've written a story with a character who's kind of shitty and says shitty things about people, that that's necessarily what the author believes. But given that particular instance combined with her Twitter, it does seem hard to deny that she does have at least something of an anti-trans bias. This means that when it comes to intent for how J.K. Rowling should be perceived as far as her feelings on the LGBT community, we really have to go based on her Twitter feed, which when you're an author as prolific as she is kind of a sad thought. But it also goes to show that from what we've seen, it doesn't look good for her. I'd also like to point out, because I think it's very important, this is in no way meant to be a takedown. I don't want to be making these videos. I hate that this is where 2019 has gone, that my personal favorite author for so much of my life growing up, and a personal hero for so much of my life as a fellow writer, to see her imploding like this is really unfortunate. And no, I don't think it's going to destroy her career. That isn't the intention at all. I could care less what effect any of this has in her career. It has to do with the fact that she needs to be held accountable. She has a huge platform, she is still a huge name, and she's influential to so many young people who really desperately need that voice and loved these books. There are so many queer fans in the Harry Potter fandom, and I know so many of them who are so heartbroken by this. So it's nothing to do with trying to tear her down or act like, oh, I'm gonna ruin her empire. I don't think I'm that important. Even if I had 1 billion subscribers, I'm not that important, because that's not how this works. People screaming on the internet with much bigger platforms than mine still don't get people like this, their careers destroyed. As much as we like to talk about cancel culture, the ultimate reality is all of these people who may have gone away, they still have a career, they're still making money, they're still doing shit. It's not like they're actually away. And this isn't even to cancel J.K. Rowling, it's just to talk about where we are in reality. And the reality is she was very, very important to a lot of people, and she has really fucked up here. Let's be clear though, J.K. Rowling did choose her words carefully. And so what she said sounded pretty inane. And a lot of what I've heard from people is that what she said didn't sound all that bad. But that's the problem. She's an author, and we're nothing if not known for choosing our words carefully. It's kind of the job. So when you say something like, I don't care how you dress or what you decide to call yourself, it sounds supportive. But that's the thing. It's not.
saying that you don't care how someone decides to dress makes it sound as though this is a costume. I mean, this is a costume. But this outfit, like, I'm literally just wearing a Slytherin shirt and I'll stand up. Short shorts. Like, I'm not pretending to be a girl. Yeah, I'm in makeup. Big fucking deal. Women wear makeup all the time. It's not even as exaggerated as my makeup could be. Quite frankly, it's pretty tame for YouTube. And then you have to add what you decide to call yourself, which I think this is the biggest sticking point for me and the biggest sticking point for a lot of trans people, because it's not about deciding to call yourself anything. Telling people that I am female, regardless of whatever else some doctor 30 years ago decided for me, I know who I am. Like, that's not a question for me. It's not up for debate. I don't care how many people want to say, well, you're a man and you'll always be a man and blah, blah, blah. It's not a debate, Linda. I don't care what you think. I am not interested in your opinions. And before you try and come at me and be like, well, I'm not interested in your opinions either, just remember who came to whose video. The problem here isn't just what she said. It's the implication of what it means to stand with this Maya person. As I understand it, the court case in question was not about a woman who was fired. It was a woman whose contract was not upheld as she expected because she made transphobic statements. She was trying to say that she had every right to make those transphobic statements, and so the government or the court was trying to decide whether or not transphobic statements should be considered protected speech, which they're not, because hate speech is never protected speech. Let's be clear about that. If you say, I'm okay with you being gay, I just don't want to see it, like, what? Like, girl, that's not acceptance. You're just being stupid and ignorant, okay? I'm sorry. No one's asking you to see it. And just because, like, oh, you can see me being trans, like, you're not. You're just seeing me as a person. Frankly, I don't really care whether or not J.K. Rowling acknowledges me as a person. I don't really care whether or not she believes that trans people are women. That's not the point of this. But it's the type of thing that if you're gonna be hateful, keep it to yourself. Why do you need to share this? Why on earth does anyone need to know that you believe this? Nobody asked. This is the biggest problem that I think most people have with J.K. Rowling right now, is that all of the things she has said on Twitter, at least 90% of them lately, nobody asked. Nobody asked you to say these things. Nobody cares what your opinion is on these things. And yet you felt the need to express them to the world. I didn't go looking for this information about J.K. Rowling. Actually, it was sent to me by one of my friends. So when I found this out, I don't even follow J.K. Rowling on Twitter anymore. That is how done I am with all of this shit. I was not interested in more drama. I knew something like this was going to happen. I didn't know when, but I knew it was only a matter of time. Frankly, I've been sitting on this video for a few months now because I was like, no, I don't want to start another video. I don't want to do a whole thing about the Fall of J.K. Rowling, but I've had this idea in the bag for a while now. I knew it was going to happen eventually. I knew something like this would happen. It was only a matter of time. She had been kind of toying with the idea of transphobia and seeing how people felt about it. And for the most part, she kind of got away with it. Some people, like me, talked about the Twitter liking and the people she was following, but most people didn't seem to give a shit. So she feels like she's emboldened. She can do whatever the hell she wants, and she certainly can. She has every right to do what she wants. But I have every right to call her out for it. That is how the internet works. The reality of the situation is this. Whatever her intention was kind of becomes irrelevant because her platform is so huge that when you take the side of someone who is transphobic, when you take the side of transphobia and say, this is where I stand, you're planting your flag in that transphobic ground, your intention kind of becomes lost because even if you didn't mean to cause harm, you have. Full stop. There is no getting around it. you have caused harm because you are planting your flag in this transphobic ground and you're saying, this is where I'm at, this is what I believe, I don't really care what you think. And you don't have to care what I personally think, but you have to realize she's got like 5 kids. There's a good chance one of them could be trans. How is she going to react to that? Is she going to say, no, not going to happen, not my child? That's a shitty thought. And that's really, really unfortunate. And to think that it feels like she doesn't care about her fans if they're not what she believes her fans should be. And the reality is, I am living proof, and I know many people who are queer and trans who really love Harry Potter and who this means the world to them. And so to think your favorite author of your favorite book series does not see you as a human being is really fucking shitty. And here's the reality. What she said, what she believes is transphobia. If you continue to insist that sex and gender are the same thing and that they're immutable and unchangeable and that there are only 2, you too are transphobic. Let me make that 100% clear. Okay? I don't care if you think science is on your side, because it's fucking not. It never has been. Maybe in, the 1800s when nobody knew shit, but I promise you now, it is not. We know it's not. You can look it up and do the goddamn research. Learn a fucking thing. Frankly, this isn't a conversation that I should have to have. I don't think any person should have to defend their humanity, but people do every day, so here we fucking are. So the bigger question then becomes, where do we go from here? What do we as fans do? Can you still enjoy Harry Potter knowing what you now know? Because I think for a lot of us, J.K. Rowling has been a problem for kind of a long time. She's made a lot of statements that were very problematic. She's made a lot of statements that ultimately have hurt fans and hurt the fandom. Just in general, not even just transphobia, not even just homophobia, not even just queer baiting, not even racism, just a lot of things that she has done to undermine her own story. So this is like the tip of a shitty iceberg. As far as I'm concerned, this is the tip of the shittiest iceberg. So where do we go? Can you still like Harry Potter? Can you still enjoy the series? I think that becomes kind of a personal question. And it's very, very interesting to me because I think there's a larger question that needs to be had and that I've been kind of wanting to have for a long time about how far one can separate the art from the artist. And I've been really toying around how to phrase my thoughts about this, how to talk about this, because I think it's such a complicated topic and one that nobody is going to be satisfied with the answer to that question. But I think it boils down to how much can you as an individual person, knowing what you know about any individual creator, separate that creator from what they have created? You know what I mean? Can you still listen to, let's say, a Michael Jackson song, knowing what you now know about him? Can you listen to R. Kelly? Can you watch a movie knowing that a lot of the really great movies are Weinstein Company movies? Can you still enjoy something knowing what we now know? As far as I'm concerned, I am still a Slytherin, now and forevermore. I still love Harry Potter. I don't regret my name. I'm not going to let her take those things from me. Regardless of how she feels about things, and regardless of how she feels about me or any other trans person, I'm not going to let her take away this thing that I love. And the reality of the situation is, I think at this point, no matter how much she makes from it, Harry Potter really belongs to the fans, and it has probably since the beginning. It's very easy to confuse these topics, and I've talked about this a lot before, and I obviously, yes, the characters are owned by her. It is her story, it is her world, but she gave it to us. And I think the fans have ultimately always made the stories stronger, they have made the stories better, they have made them more inclusive, and ultimately, that's what I think is where we need to be. The greatest irony of all of this, really, is that the characters that she's created wouldn't agree with her. Except maybe, you know, Voldemort and Umbridge and Bellatrix. But for the most part, I don't think most of the characters in this book series would agree with how she has decided to take things and how she views trans people and queer people. Like, it's so funny to me because we know statistically, and I've said this in another video, that the Harry Potter generation is considered one of the most tolerant generations of, like, ever. And so it's so funny to me that the most tolerant generation was created by an author who's really fucking problematic and really just not tolerant, clearly. It's so bizarre to me and so ironic, and yet here we are. Ultimately, I would like to believe that if J.K. Rowling could just meet a trans person and talk to them and be educated, that maybe there would be a hope somewhere that she could realize why what she said was wrong and maybe give us a real apology. But this isn't the first time, nor is it the second time. And so I'm starting to think that this is just the way it is. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You know what they say? When someone shows you who you are, you have to believe them. She's showing us who she is, and I, for one, have no choice to believe her. After all, if words truly are our most inexhaustible source of magic, I'm starting to believe she's gone to the dark side. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give me a like, comment down below, and keep the conversation going, and subscribe to my channel. And if you would like to see further videos like this and just support me in general, please feel free to give to my Ko-Fi/Patreon. All the links will be in the description box below. Bye!